by Pulaski. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimously. Move on to item 4B, appointments. There we go, what's up? We have one appointment this month, Upper Grand River Watershed Alliance. Term expires May of '26. Currently, it's a vacant position. A Christy Davis has applied. I would like to nominate her, if I may. And we'll forward that on, okay, supported by Snell. We'll forward that on to the full board. All in favor indicate by saying aye. 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 Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimously. Go on to item 4C. This Chamber of Commerce semi-annual report.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners, for the opportunity to speak today. I'm Ryan Tarrant, President and CEO of the Jackson County Chamber of Commerce and Experience Jackson, our Convention and Visitors Bureau. When I was here 6 months ago, I gave an update, and it was early on in my tenure. It was relatively high level, so wanted to share some of the highlights of what we've done since then. So from the Experience Jackson side of things, over the past 6 months, we have created a strategic plan as a part of that process, looking at the economic impact of hotel stays in Jackson County, nearing $50 million over the past 12 months. Happy to report we're looking at about a 2% increase to this point this year. So that number will continue to go up. Important to note that this does not include any sort of Airbnb or VRBO short-term rentals. So this is specific to hotel stays. And I mention that because I know there's a lot of conversation in different communities about how maybe we might restrict those things. And what I would say is with almost all of our hotels, with the exception of one on the northern side of the county, those are key to the economic impact of tourism in Jackson County. So with that strategic plan on the next slide there, we have 4 initiatives for Experience Jackson, marketing and public relations, in 2 parts. So first, Jackson, because I think like a lot of communities in the Midwest, we aren't very good at talking about ourselves and highlighting what it is that makes Jackson County great. And then also to visitors. And so one of the things that we've done already in the last couple of months is hire a community branding and placemaking manager to help us tell the story of Jackson, not only to the residents, but also to those potential visitors, expanding the visitor experience to drive growth and advocacy for the local travel industry. So one of the biggest changes you'll probably see from Experience Jackson over the next year is less of a concentration on those small sponsorships of local events and more of a concentration on building out those visitor experiences. So, is it creating a new festival event, race, highlighting the Irish Hills and all that we have to offer with the lakes, trails, and those types of things. So really trying to draw more visitors into the community. And then on the Chamber of Commerce side, we always get asked what's the value of joining a Chamber of Commerce. And so we put together a little what I call the pinwheel of all of the different opportunities that our members have when they join the Chamber, whether it's co-working space or workers' comp discounts, those types of things. But really, we had 3 policy priorities this year that I think are important for this group to know. One of them was dealing with the aggressive panhandling that became prevalent downtown, especially was a major concern of businesses. We did a survey of downtown businesses, 90% of them said it was their top concern. So wanted to, we worked with the city commission. They ended up passing a loitering and accosting ordinance that helped to address those concerns. Our board also wanted to help advance the Hayes Hotel, has been vacant for 21 years, since 2003. The Chamber of Commerce worked with state legislators through the budget process to secure $4.5 million for the city to help advance that project and that redevelopment on the other end of downtown. And then the third one was what I've been in the room and you all have been talking about for the last hour and a half is the jail millage and educating our members, educating the public. What I had put in your packet was one of the things that we were sending out to our list to try and make sure that people were aware of the need. And I think as we go forward, the 0.25 mil that was just approved in the last meeting, I anticipate that the chamber will be supportive of that as well. We'll continue to educate the public, and hopefully we can get there this time. So,
Thank you. Any questions?
Move to receive the report.
Have a motion to receive. I need a second.
Support.
thank you.
Seconded by Walls. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Board. Move on to item 4D, the Enterprise Group, semi-annual report. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to come in and speak. My name is Keith Gillenwater. I'm the president and CEO of the Enterprise Group of Jackson, Inc. And the last time that we appeared in front of this committee, I had been in the position for almost 2 hours. And so was sitting in the audience, and I think I gave you a wave. So I think 6 months later, I've got a little bit more time under my belt and can hopefully give a better report. A couple of organizational updates. When I started, we've had some staff changeover. Before I started, lost a vice president, obviously with the retirement of Tim Rogers as well as me coming in. I'm proud to report we are fully staffed as an organization with 4 full-time folks working on the economic development side of our organization. And then we also host the South Central Michigan Apex Accelerator, which helps with government contracting and that kind of thing, with 3 full-time employees there. So we are up and running and firing on all cylinders. So the first 6 months, as you can imagine, I've spent a lot of time getting out and talking to our business and industry and community leaders and nonprofits and partners, trying to really help chart that path of what the new Enterprise Group looks like. And so hearing a lot of that, use that feedback to shape a new strategic plan for our organization, which I am proud to report we are operating from, has been adopted by our board as well. Working through several partnerships. So Ryan had just spoke from the chamber. We've got a handful of projects going with them, including later this week with bringing some consultants in, taking them to the race, so partnering with Lenawee County on that, showcasing the assets that we have, bringing some community leaders, business leaders together for a dinner with some of these folks and that kind of thing this weekend. So got a pretty big week planned for us. A nice partnership with Lean Rocket Lab and Shop Rats Foundation, creating a built-in Jackson video series, showcasing and highlighting some unique manufacturers and opportunities in the county as we really, kind of hitting on the earlier meeting and then some of the things that Ryan just said about what are we doing to market and get our word out there about all these great things that are going on in the community. Manufacturing Day is something that we've always taken a lead role on, and we have that scheduled at the America One Event Center the 25th through the 27th of September. And Debbie has really taken a lead role on that, and we're pretty excited about the opportunity to showcase all of those opportunities across the community, but really also that opportunity to bring all of our school kids in, 8th graders, freshmen, to come in and see, hey, here are some opportunities here in Jackson County for you. I kind of talked a little bit about some of the marketing efforts we've got. going. Something we've really tried to hit is with some of our commercial real estate as well, making sure that we are marketing when we have a unique building hit the market, something that we can get out and get it out to our site selector list. And so we partnered the first time with Phil Morgan from ERA Reardon on the Everlast lighting full spectrum building, unique corporate headquarters building that hit the market, have some manufacturing space, has some corporate office space and that kind of thing. So we did a 200 card mailer out for that building as well. And certainly looking for more of those opportunities when you get these unique buildings that might have a reach beyond our local market. And then last thing, working through Jackson Technology Park, I know that Debbie and Tim have reported on that to you through the development of that park over the years. It looks promising that we're going to have our first tenant purchase 2 lots and part of a 3rd lot to build a facility in there. So we're pretty excited about that. We're also in the process of going through the state of Michigan. MEDC created a site certification program and gave us an opportunity to apply to be part of that inaugural round, and we were accepted. So we're one of 9 industrial sites across the state of Michigan that were selected. So we're the one representative for Region 9 for the Greater Ann Arbor region. So we are hopeful yet by the end of this month to receive a designation. And what that does is it says to the outside world that this land is ready to go. All the due diligence has been completed, and it will be highlighted on the MEDC's website as well. And then last but not least, as we talk about due diligence and that kind of thing, looking at additional industrial sites that we can bring online. So we received a grant through the Greater Ann Arbor region and the MEDC in the amount of $85,000 that we are going to be issuing an RFP hopefully next week for procurement of engineering services to do some additional due diligence on land at the Parma LDFA, essentially back behind Mackey. There's about 30 acres that is an existing industrial site that's been marketed, but there's a farm right behind that that's been on the market, the Bridges property. So we're looking at that and going to start undertaking some of that due diligence because, people that buy land are risk averse when they're buying to build something on it. And so we're trying to remove some of that risk so people know exactly what's there and try to make it an opportunity to bring some more business to the community. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions, board? Okay, we have a motion and support to receive your report. No questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We need to vote on that. All in favor, vote aye? Aye. Those that oppose, nothing. Passes unanimously. Okay, IT is next. Welcome, Ben.
Good morning. So today I'm bringing forward the renewal of the support and maintenance agreement for the OnBase software from the Highland Software Company. This software is used in a large portion of our departments across the county. It handles document retention, document storage, file and form processing, as well as workflows for approvals and transferring documents between different departments as well. This was a budgeted cost and an anticipated cost that provides us access to ongoing software maintenance, security updates, and patches and support from the manufacturer of the software. Happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you. And I hope this is on point, but I recall within the past couple of months, we had a software vendor who blundered by undoing our I'm not going to describe this very well, but some other county named Jackson County had terminated their subscription, but they terminated our stuff.
Correct.
Were we able to kind of recover from that?
We did work with that vendor and.
Not this vendor, though.
Not this vendor.
Okay, all
No. We did continue to work with that vendor. We basically have an agreement at this point to where they refunded us essentially and extended forward a year at no cost of the software. And we were able to rebuild what was lost essentially as part of it as well.
Okay. Thanks for the update. I have nothing further, Mr. Chair.
Aye.
Thank you.
Item F is next, finance.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So to go over June 2024's financial statements, we are at 50% of our budget. Our expenditures are below that at 48.6% for year-to-date, so that's positive. Our revenue percent totals at 25.2, but our year-to-date average is at 26.6. Even though we're below that average, I'm not concerned. I went through and did an analysis of all of our revenues. We're not short on any of our revenues compared to budget, so it's not something I'm concerned about. I just think in prior years, there was like a transfer in that for that year was kind of skewing the average that we don't have this year. So it's nothing I'm concerned about. Looking on page 2, I do have some notes on some different things where we are above our for our revenues. Like our GIS, we bill it in September. So there's, and then looking at our expenditures, again, they're all below our 50%. So are there any questions on this report?
Any members have a question? Apparently no question. Okay, go ahead, Earl.
I'll move the adoption, then I'll ask my question. How's that sound?
Support.
Okay.
The question I have is, of course, we've had a rather lengthy discussion this morning with respect to the jail millage. Do we still have anything left in that fund, or are we exhausting that by the end of this fiscal year?
My expectation is we'll probably be exhausting it by the end of the fiscal year.
But we're still have a little
We
bit
still
in
have some
here?
right now,
Okay.
yeah.
All
And
right,
that's what's balancing this budget.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Okay, we have a motion by Walls, second by Snell. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Board. I got a second finance item. I got a touch run. Go ahead.
Yeah. Just waiting for him to bring it up for me.
The next item is our budget review. And
There we go.
Lost there. Okay.
given what you've done earlier,
Yeah.
this here will somewhat be premature. But nonetheless, let's go through it with the board.
Okay, so on page 2, the revenue adjustments. So as we kind of talk about every year, is the first thing we kind of do is we look at our revenues, see what's changing, and account for those. So basically, the things that we know for sure is there'll be an increase to our budgeted revenue for our property taxes, and we're expecting a 3.5% increase for that. And talking to Joe, our equalization director, we feel like that's a conservative number. So that's why we're going in and staying with 3.5%. So that'll give us an additional $1 million there. Our revenue sharing based on the state's budget looks like an 8% increase of $320,000. I do want to note that $118,000 of that is actually federal coronavirus money that they're still using to send to the counties. And then marijuana, the taxes and fees, am increasing the budget this year by $300,000, and that will match we received $900,000 this year, and the budget was at $600,000. So I'm just going ahead and making the budget at $900,000 to equal what we received this year. We really don't know what we're receiving until the next fiscal year after the state has received all of the all the marijuana money. Sorry, I talk with my hands. But anyways, and so, that's kind of where we're at with that. Any questions on the revenue page? All right.
Go ahead.
Sorry to be a blowhard this morning.
I love your questions.
So let's just consider property tax. Of course, that is completely general fund, unrestricted. We can do whatever we want with that.
Yes.
Revenue sharing, same thing. Am I right?
Yes.
Unrestricted.
Yeah.
Okay. And the marijuana taxes and fees we can do anything with
Yes.
that. So this is all really, really good news. I suppose there's going to be some bad news you're going to tell me here in a moment. But
It'll be
that's
mixed.
1.6, almost 1.7 million of greater revenue than we had anticipated for 2024.
Yes.
got
For
it.
25.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Thank you, Earl. Okay, move on to the
All right. And
other
so,
news.
yep, on page 3. Salaries and wages, we're anticipating, this is including step increases of an increase of 492,000. And then our benefits, we have a decrease of 6%, and that's in our health insurance costs, so that'll give us 500,000 to work with. And then, but we do have an increase from 6% to 14.5% for our defined benefit. So that increase is 360,000.
If I may, as she indicated, salary is, the anticipated wages with like 3% roughly. The health insurance cost, the reason it's going down is we are going to change carriers. We're going to be coming to the board here to change carriers back to Blue Cross. Blue Cross is buying us back, and seriously, they're under I don't want to say lowballing, but let's just say their rate is considerably less than Priority Health. So we're going to go back to Blue Cross, and then the defined benefit. She's talking about the retirement plan. The retirement plan there, we have not a lot of control over at all. It's market dependent, like the stock market, things like that. They do a snapshot once a year, and whatever that looks like at that time, which is December 31st, I believe.
Yes.
Was when they take the picture is what we have to do. They use I think is it 3 or 5 year smoothing? Well, they do a moving average on it, and so it rounds it off a little bit. But at this time, we have to increase ours. What is that? 360,000. So just a little further detail on that.
General fund portion, yeah.
Yeah. General fund only. Yeah.
Question on that. I called first. We have an increase of 360,000 total. Are we saying we put way like 280,000 already?
No, the increase there is we have to give to the retirement fund an additional $360,000 from general fund.
Right.
If you look at the total retirement plan and the total county budget, you can see there it's $608,000.
Yes. So there's
But
a-
we have those other funds that have
Yes.
their own revenue sources,
Yes.
be it parks or whomever.
Yes.
That they use their money to pay into that. So the hit to general fund is only 361,000.
Yes.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Commissioner Plesky.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Okay, so I just want to make sure I understand this page. So the step increases, the 492,000 is greater than we had budgeted, or is that just what the number is for this year?
That's what the number is for 25.
For 25?
Yes.
Okay, so, all right, but that's really offset by the decreased cost of our healthcare. So the two of those kind of offset each other, more or less, am I right? Okay. And the 361 that we just were talking about, that's where we're going to have a greater item to budget for in 25 than what
Yes.
we had to pay for in
Exactly.
24. Okay. Sorry, I'm a little dense sometimes, just have to clarify in my mind. Thank you.
Question, Mr. Administrator. We have contract negotiations coming up. Is that included in here, or are they going to be a surprise?
No, there's going to be a lot more contracts than that, I suppose. We did include some wage increases, just as standard fare, but until you negotiate a contract, you really don't know what it's going to be. And the jailers or corrections officers this year have binding arbitration. They're new to that. My expectation is that they will want to take us to the mat and go to binding arbitration. So we shall see.
Thank you. Any further questions on this? Oh, we have more yet, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
So we get to go to page 4. All right, so these are some increases in expenditures in the general fund. So we have jail. We're anticipating a $400,000 increase for medical services. We're also increasing,
So much for our healthcare savings, right?
well, that's from, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
it's-
is.
It's in his contract, it's a contracted medical services. And then we also, for our inmate food services, we're anticipating a $125,000 increase.
Back to the inflation I talked about earlier.
Yeah. And then within our drain office, he's requesting a full-time engineer. The cost is $103,000. And he's also requesting a part-time staff at $42,000. So those are the significant increases I can anticipate, that's anticipated in the budget. And
Questions? Margie?
I'm just curious on that drain office full-time engineer. Does that include his benefits at 103,000? Okay, thank you.
Any further questions?
Ask a question.
ahead,
just
Commissioner
to,
Pulaski.
Go further to the drain office. What significant increase in their workload has occurred to demand a part, one point something additional staff?
If I may. The drain commissioner and I have talked about this at length. To be frank, he is in need of engineering. He has generally gone out to contract and contracted out when he has need. The reason, part of the reason anyways, he's moving to this is he's looking to create continuity in the office. So in the event that he chooses not to run for office and someone else is elected, there would be somebody on staff who would have some institutional knowledge of what is or is not in the drain office. And far as his part-time person, as you might recall, he had a full-time deputy who was kind of a part-time employee and a contractor, both, if you will. And right now, that's not permitted. So she is currently part-time employee, and we had told him that I understand you have need for a full-time position there. If you want to have another full-timer, fine. If your part-timer retires, you can have a full-time. If your part-timer chooses to continue working, well, then you can have another part-timer. And again, we've made that available to him here in '24. Thus far, he has not exercised that. He has a part-time employee only up there. And, and best I can tell, he seems to be doing fine. So maybe he is not planning to fill it. I really do not know. But the same continuity question comes into mind. Both the drain commissioner and his deputy are eligible to retire anytime they want at this point. Continuity of office is important. We would like to go ahead and fund the position and see how what happens. Now, frankly, it may be that in '25 nothing changes and he doesn't necessarily need to fill the position, but he made the request and we saw fit to put in the budget for your consideration.
Mr. Willis?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the inmate medical services, the increase of 400,000, is that like directly related to like COVID or anything specific or just a cost?
I don't believe so, no.
No, that's what happened is the contract, as I understand it, the change is, well, frankly, they've been sued a few times, the contractors, and I can't speak to all the reason of their increase, but I do know their argument is that they're upping their game and putting in what are registered nurses.
I believe so.
As opposed to some of the medical assistants. So whether that's a requirement, I'm not clear on, but it is what the sheriff has proposed at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Overton, I have a question on the drain office. With the impending presumed retirement of the drain commissioner at some future date, and the issue we have with the part-time staff, would it be time to maybe look at turning some of this over to the road commission, or turning the whole thing over? They have
Well, you can't eliminate an elected position there. You can change it. You could change it to a elected, Public Works Director, but it's still the same concept. It's still someone's elected to manage that. The Public Works Director, I think, would be in charge of the road department, if I'm not mistaken. So that's part of the reason we've never moved to that direction. The drain office, he manages the drain office until such time that he decides he no longer wishes to do so, or the voters don't elect him.
Well, with that said, if he decides not to run for reelection, at that time, we could, no?
You could. I don't know if that solves any problem at all.
Okay,
Perhaps may create others.
thank you.
All right, so moving on to page 5. These are amounts that we've been budgeting for capital from the general fund. So the sheriff's department, the total is $357,000. $333,000 is for sheriff vehicles. It's replacing 5. And then we've just budgeted in the 5th payment of a lease payment they have for their mobile tablets. And then for GIS, we're budgeting $40,000 for the towards the next flight. We do that every year. And then the information technology, we have $305,000 towards future technology replacements.
Okay, that concludes that. Any questions on the last page? Commissioner Pulaski, go ahead, sir.
Thanks. I'll apologize again, Mr. Chair, for what are probably elementary questions. So I've kind of been trying to keep track of the ups and downs here that we've had. So we've got the 1.6 additional revenue, but everything else since then has been more costs. I kind of calculate that we're down about 200,000 net of all these things. In other words, the increase in revenue is offset by increased costs
Right.
by a little more than 200,000. Does that sound about right for all
Well,
this?
Well, keeping track, we're only looking at significant things, so there's a lot of little things too. So really, at the end of the day, I have $500,000 additional money from the reduction of the health insurance. So, because my budget had balanced up until, and then we had the cut in the health insurance. So we have $500,000 right now that's
Okay.
available,
Okay. Well, that's decent news, I suppose.
right?
Not too many surprises either, it seemed like. All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. I need a motion and support to receive. Okay, we have a motion by Pulaski, a second by Willis. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes unanimously. Thank you, Cecilia.
Okay, thanks.
Next up, item H would be Human Services. Good morning, Michael.
Morning. Today I come with you to renew 2 of our insurance providers. The first being our leave administration, which is required by law. That's the FMLA, so Family Medical Leave Act. We have an administrator that assists with that process. Included in that package is short-term disability and long-term disability. So the total cost currently for that is $173,000. The renewal stayed flatlined with our current provider, Mutual of Omaha. However, we went out to bid with MetLife as well as MetLife as well as Lincoln Financial. We are recommending through an evaluation to go with MetLife. The cost savings overall by going to MetLife would be just under $6,000 of cost savings by transitioning to that plan provider. Same benefits, same offerings, everything is just reducing our costs. That would also result in an increase to our long-term disability with the maximum cap per month Right now, the maximum cap that somebody can receive is 60% of their monthly salary up to $3,000. This would increase it to $4,000, which would mean more people would get at least 60% of their monthly salary. Right now, anybody making $60,000 or less would get that. Anybody making over $60,000 would not be getting 60% of their salary. This would up that amount. So our recommendation is to request that of the full board, transitioning providers, including that increase. And it would save us approximately $6,000 by doing so. And I'd be happy to answer any questions with that.
Any questions, board? If not, we need a motion and support to send this to the full board.
So moved.
I'll support.
Motion by Walls, supported by Pulaski. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimously. Okay, you're on for the next item, sir.
Yes, and we've already discussed this. We are recommending a transition to medical provider from Priority Health to Blue Cross Blue Shield. And as the county administrator mentioned, they are buying our business back. It is a projection that we had when we ran our internal numbers with experience rating. We should have been around a 10% increase to what our current was. Priority Health came in at 12.5% increase. Blue Cross Blue Shield said, we are going to do a 6% decrease in your current cost for medical. They also gave us an option for a second-year rate guarantee not to exceed 7.5% in the second year. With that being said, it makes complete sense to, once again, I don't like changing providers. We want to do our due diligence, making sure the provider's network and the services they're providing to our employees is at top-notch level. Blue Cross Blue Shield is one of those providers. They are considered the gold standard. A lot of people had trepidation when we transitioned from Blue Cross Blue Shield to Priority Health. We're not having that type of concern moving the other direction. Blue Cross Blue Shield is one of the largest insurance providers. Their network is enormous. The insurance level and the benefits are the same from Priority Health to Blue Cross Blue Shield. So that stays and remains the same. So this is just a cost savings for the transition. And with that, we have a second-year rate cap guarantee. So most likely we won't have to address this again for 3 years from now.
So
I'll be happy to answer any
Are
questions.
we seeking out a 2-year contract with Blue Cross or going year to year?
We have a right to exit the contract if we get a better rate. But yes, you'd be approving it for the county administrator to make that determination. And if we don't get a better rate than the 7.5, we wouldn't be coming back before you. If we get a better rate, I'll present next year and say, we don't go with the 7.5, we'll go with a 5% decrease.
Okay, any questions, board? If there's no questions, I'd like a motion and support.
Move to adopt the management recommendation. Support.
Okay, motion by Pulaski, supported by Snell. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Passed unanimously. Thank you. Good job on that. Okay, Administrator Controller, proposed property transfer.
Hello. We have, back in the day, from approximately 1972, Leone Township was building out their pump stations. And so we have a property that we owned that we had agreed to back in 1972 to transfer over to Leone Township upon full payment of their bond at the time. Their bond has been paid off, but somehow changing staff and what have you, it got lost in the mix. We did do this 2 years ago for another parcel. We've confirmed with our attorney that we did this a couple years ago again with another parcel, transferring ownership to them for a different pump station. We have the deeds. I attached the original deed. We have a request in with Leone Township. Our attorney has reviewed the documents. Our attorney has asked for a couple of items, which I listed excuse me, in the staff report. Leone Township is to provide a title commitment to verify ownership. We've notified them and are waiting for that document. I have verbally identified with the Register of Deeds, though, that we do own it informally. We just need that formal document from Leone Township. And we need formal confirmation for our attorney to proceed with the title, with the transfer of the property. But we're working on that information, and we would like to have permission, once we receive that document from Leone Township, to proceed with the transfer of the title to Leone. The property cannot be used for anything else, as there is a pump station for their sewer system on there. So it is no value to us for the property.
Thank you. Questions? You support that? Okay, you need a,
I'll support it so long as the provisos are also a part of the motion. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, our attorney indicated he can't move forward without that, so, yep.
So, right, motion couldn't go without, okay, got it. So I support it, Mr. Chair.
all right, we have a motion by Snell, support by Poleski. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Passes unanimously. We'll move on to item K, another administrator item, material management plan.
Thank you. Last week, we had a special Board of Public Works meeting to review the proposals for the MMP, the Materials Management Plan consultant. If you recall, we're not looking to, the state is requiring us to change our solid waste plan to the Materials Management Plan, which is an emphasis on renewables, recycling our waste. Towards that end, we went out, saw proposals. We had 5 companies submit, and upon, we reviewed them all, and I'm recommending Fishbeck, frankly, partly because they're right out of Lansing. I think the next closest is Mount Pleasant. We got a company from Ohio, and there's 2 companies that are just practically double price, so I kind of discarded them, to be honest. Disregarded them, I should say. But Fishbeck is a large firm, capable. We've used them in the past. I know I talked to Angela at Department of Public Works, Department of Public Works, JDOT, and she is familiar with them as well, has used them in the past. They come very highly recommended. So that I think, given the price, and to be frank, guys, the price on this, while they all have numbers on there, that price is going to be close. I think that's really this. I can't say that it's a definite price, because it really depends on how many meetings we have, and we have to create a board with 11 people on it, a committee, this board here will have, the county commissioners. What's that? Minimum, yeah, minimum. And in the law, they spell out who you need to have on that board. That doesn't mean you couldn't put additional people on, for sure. But at minimum, 11 people on that board. And when you put a board together of that size and trying to put together a big plan like this, it's possible they're going to end up having more meetings than people think they are or predict. And every meeting costs money for these consultants. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But when I look at these proposals, I was looking really about qualifications and that sort of thing. Fishbeck is already doing. They already are doing one county's MMP, so they got a little leg up there. But I'll be happy to entertain any questions you might have.
Questions, board? Tony, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. Mike, I got a question on C. The county received 5 proposals for qualifications, qualified firms to develop the comprehensive plan. Okay, so when you look to Fishbeck, the 3rd item, they didn't even respond to, didn't give a price or number of hours. The assessment and analysis, they didn't give a fee or hours. The final report is just blank. So I conclude from that I conclude from that there are certain services that had been requested. They were in the process elements that Fishbeck appears to not even intend to include. So if they're not including them, then the way I evaluate bids, if you don't respond to every item, it's an invalid bid, and you toss it out because they're not covering all of the work that you have asked for. So even though it's cheaper than the HDR bid by half, it's not a complete bid, and we're not going to be receiving all of the items that we need. So the process elements, we need all of them. We can't do without 3 of them. So I consider that an unresponsive bid and would disqualify it. And I think we'd be much better off going with the HDR bid, because all of the required elements are addressed. They're going to give us 100% of what we asked for. So I guess I'd ask you to tell me why are we accepting a bid that doesn't even give us all of the elements that we ask?
Per the table you see there, that your statements are correct there. In the body, they generally, they don't spell it all as clearly as one would like. But they do intend to provide us a final product and go through the whole process. They just have different elements where they include it into their proposal there, when they talk about project management and things like that. Frankly, my expectation is to whomever we ultimately choose, that we draft an agreement spelling out exactly what our product is. I don't want to use the proposal as the agreement as to what they have to deliver to us. I would much rather put together an agreement with our attorney, with them and their attorney to execute.
So you're still confident going with Fishbeck?
Yes, I am. I don't believe we need to pay double. And frankly, what I'm not confident with, to be frank, guys, I've said it to the Board of Public Works as well, is that these numbers, these 60,000 numbers, it might be 70, it might be 75. It won't be the giant numbers that the other two have, because I do believe that this is too unwieldy a project, and it's a new project. The state passed this law requiring all these things, and thus far, no one has done it. It's all new in that sense. Is it similar to a solid waste plan? Yes. And some on the board here probably recall, because they sat on the solid waste plan committee in the past, that can be rather contentious. And ultimately, this document has to be approved by 2/3, I believe it is 67%, I believe, of all townships in our county, or it won't even be approved. It's not a legal, the state won't accept it unless 2/3. So invariably, there will be a lot of meetings and things like that. So what I'm really looking at here is looking at qualifications and relationship and what I thought might be additional costs, while they're not necessarily spelled out, would be incurred. For instance, if you're driving in from another state, generally speaking, we pay for mileage and things like that for contractors. They usually put that in their bids. So if all of a sudden we're having more meetings, I think there's more cost involved. So I'm looking at qualifications probably even more so than cost, but clearly I wasn't ignoring cost, because you can't come in and say you're going to be double. Now, if everybody, if there was only, if there were 4 companies, if you will, that were over 100,000, I'd be more inclined to say, well, I guess that's probably really what it's going to be. And maybe this is an outlier and they've lowballed it and they'll be in trouble later. But 3 of these companies here are they're all very capable to do the job. And those 3 there are pretty close to each other. So their thinking is along the right lines. And I think like I say, it might vary a little here or there, but by and large, I am comfortable with Fishbeck, very well-known firm. They've done work for us in the past. And frankly, would expect to continue to do work for us in the future with our ongoing relationship. Reason I say that, and the reason I believe it's important, one-off companies aren't as committed, in my mind at least, and it's my personal opinion. One and done, you get what you get. But if you've got to keep an ongoing relationship with a client, you're more likely to make a little more effort, is I guess the way of looking at it.
Okay, Mike, thank you for the explanation, and Phil, thank you for allowing me to ask the question.
Yes, sir. Ray?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've used Fishbeck in the past. They're very professional, thorough, and I would move to recommend that we do the work with them.
Sport.
Who made the motion? Ray? Yeah, you made the motion. Okay, Ray, motion by Snell, support by Walls. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Board. Move on to item 5. We have the claims. I need a motion and support to pay the claims.
To pay the claims.
Motion, support, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you much. Other minutes, we have actuarial evaluation PDF. Do we need to approve them?
What's in their claims?
Yeah,
Under other minutes. Oh, other minutes for that.
yeah, other minutes, yes.
I think that's just information.
Okay, it's for your viewing pleasure. Reporting schedule next month, Finance, Treasurer, Conservation District. Public comment. They abandoned us. Committee member comments. No committee member comments, meeting adjourned. Thank you, board.